Why is sports psychology relevant to everyone?
Because sports psychology is basically part of our life. People likes to have the awareness of the body and mind connection. So our goal is actually to stretch this HRV. So that's the goal, to basically improving our variability.
In today's fitness world, people are not contented. People are not strong enough, lean enough, perfect enough, and many end up turning to steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, just to keep up with the trend of the social media, unrealistic standards. And why do so many ignore the long-term damage in pursuit of short-term validation?
There is always, some damage connected to any kind of steroids, anabolic pills, and also drinking alcohol or taking any drugs. What I see through the HRV, if the person would take steroids, his heart rate or the HRV is immediately impacted. This patient can develop certain arrhythmia when you have irregular heartbeats.
Dr. Martin, welcome to the show of Move, Heal, and Repeat. We're very thrilled to welcome you as our very first guest. Could you tell us a little more about yourself, what you do, and what led you into sports psychology?
Thank you very much, Alaya, for this invitation. And if I can briefly introduce myself, I'm originally from Slovakia, and this podcast is about the sports. So we need to mention that basically that I was really involved and enjoying any kind of sport, especially like football, ice hockey, tennis. And till the age of 21, I played also semi-professionally in my country. Unfortunately, when I was 21, I got very bad injuries for my knees and shoulder.
Okay.
So I had a few operations. And that brought me actually to study psychology and also sports psychology. When I was 22, I with my friends, we set up a sports school, like football school, with the proper football classes. That was in 1994 in my country. And this school still runs. It's called SK Format Martin. Later, I went to US. Originally, I wanted to study sports management, but then I switched for the psychology. So I was 11 years studying in US, and I finished my PhD from the general psychology. I got also certification from the American Board of the Sports Psychology from New York. And since 2011, I went to Dubai. So I was actually in 2010 the second male licensed psychologist in the Dubai Healthcare City.
That was 14 years ago.
Yeah, that was in 2010. And since then, I was working in the Dubai Healthcare City, in the clinics, and also I was teaching in psychology in Middlesex University. I was responsible for the labs, psychology labs, and also Canadian University. Last 4 years in Dubai.
Very nice. A very long history. The city we live in, Dubai, promotes a very active lifestyle. The people I know at least work out every day. Gyms popping up everywhere, thriving football clubs. We have combat sports scenes every month. Why is sports psychology relevant to everyone?
Because sports psychology is basically part of our life.
Yeah.
And when we have certain aspects which are basically components of the sports psychology, that applies to any kind of psychology when we have clinical psychology and so on. So basically, people likes to have the awareness of the body and mind connection in certain way. So mostly, because of the image, the physical fitness is, I would say, very much promoted, more just as the mental health, I would say. But now the trend is switching, and the mental health and also the physical aspects of the life are very much, connected. And Dubai is amazing because you can see everybody's working out. Yesterday I was on the beach running in the evening. So there are lots of sports clubs, any kind of fields and so on. So for Dubai it's amazing because also of the weather, right?
Yes.
So especially during the winter in Dubai,
Now
it's
it's a
amazing time.
season.
Now the season is starting, so fantastic time for Dubai people.
Well, you have shared a presentation. It's a very fascinating presentation, actually, about heart rate variability biofeedback and mindfulness based cognitive therapy. What is it about and why it matters?
You saw the presentation. Basically, I was certified as a sports psychologist in New York, and the first I met actually these HRV measurements was through the Dr. Karlstedt. He was in Columbia University, and the best to see the stress is actually through the HRV measurements. And that's the way how I integrate these HRV measurements into my practice with the clients, because we like to have quick and straightforward results. And as I said, right, if we want to see objectively the stress, the best is through the HRV.
A lot of people wear high tech watches, such as Whoop, like myself, but actually have no clue what it actually means. They just charge it, wear it, track my steps on it, track my stresses. For someone who's never really understood metrics like HRV, can you explain what heart rate variability is?
Yeah, it's amazing to have this kind of technologies. Yeah. Nowadays, many watches are already built with this HRV. So that
Yes.
means the heart rate variability. So when you measure yourself, there is a little confusion. And for so many people, because they don't recognize the difference between the heart rate and
The heart rate
HRV,
variability.
heart rate variability. So that's the major problem, because if somebody measured the heart rate, okay, but the HRV is the best. So if your watch is built up, the Whoop has HRV, which is basically the SDNN. Let me just quickly explain the difference. All right, let's just say what is your heart rate? What do you think?
I
You
think my
monitor?
average heart rate variability is 69.
Okay, let's just say your heart rate is 70. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, it's pretty good heart rate, between 60 and 80. Yeah. But basically, because we have only just, and the watches which are making this heart rate, they do only just average.
Average, yes.
Average within few seconds, or every 2-3 seconds. So it doesn't give us basically what we need, and that's basically the HRV. How the HRV works, it's we need to go to the physiology. Because if the average is 70, the heart rate moves, when you inhale, so the heart rate it's increasing. Yeah. When you exhale, the heart rate is decreasing.
Yeah.
So the highest point of the inhale and the lowest point of the exhale is basically the variability.
Okay.
So if you have, for example, heart rate 70, but unfortunately your system is not working properly, that means when you inhale, the heart rate goes to 71, and when you exhale, it goes to 69. The watch gives you the average 70, and somebody thinks it's okay. No. SDNN as a HRV shows, basically the indication how much vitality, energy you have within the system. That's what we need to see. It's basically the split between the highest point of the inhale and the lower point of the exhale. So the SDNN is the indicator of many factors, including the stress level,
Yes.
longevity, how somebody feels, and so on. So the highest the number, so the highest variability, the better for the health of the person. So our goal is actually to stretch this HRV
Okay.
during the exercises what we need to do. Yeah. So that's the goal, to basically improving our variability, monitoring this. And that's many people don't know how to do this.
Okay. So apart from HRV, what are the other indicators?
So the HRV basically has the what we call the frequency domain and time domain. So the SDNN is the paramount. That's what I said is the. So when somebody has, can measure himself, before he goes to sleep and when he wakes up, and then he can compare the SDNN, after.
Okay. For me, as I'm wearing Whoop, I just look at it every morning. Like when I sleep, my HRV is higher. What does it indicate whilst you're on your
It
sleep?
would indicate that you have good sleep and the system recovers. So you're breathing through the night increases the variability in comparisons before, right? So because you can check also before. But there are lots of different indicators. Some watches may have more basically data, as we called it RMSSD, which is a part of the SDNN as a parasympathetic nervous system. And this is also the most important thing, that only just HRV gives us, the indications for the autonomic nervous system. And the most important is to monitoring the two branches where we have the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So our goal to basically is, for example, in the sports, any kind of sports environment and so on, if the situation requires to fire up, to activate the sympathetic in the workouts and so on. And when we need to recover, we need to activate the parasympathetic. And that's connected with the vagus nerve. So only HRV gives us this autonomic nervous system. EEG and the other measurements are not giving us, and basically, therefore, it's a straightforward indicator how somebody feels.
Yeah.
And because what I see in the patients, there are lots of things to see. Yeah, people in the parasympathetic can be more connected to stamina-oriented, exercises. They can be very good in the long distance and so on. They have patience within them.
Yes.
Usually, there are very technical players because they have like more right hemisphere activation, 3D for the passing and so on. Technically, they are very good. Sympathetic is more connected with the aggressions, endurance.
Yes.
And that's also some sports very much required. So basically, these people can be very much, confident, as a sympathetic, also very much, compatible, competitive, and so on, in certain way, maybe with the less fears as people with the parasympathetic. So there are lots of things where we can look at, in any aspects.
Are there like people who's maybe athletes or maybe your clients or patients that are both parasympathetic and sympathetic, that both show signs on their report?
Yeah. What I see, there is always a little more dominance in one of these, areas. So either you are more sympathetic and parasympathetic, but that's what we're learning because, see, for example, the marathon runner must be definitely in the parasympathetic with the high variability. And that's what we can see only just on special softwares what we have, like, for example, Cubios software, which gives you these, graphs, and you can see that, as the waves goes, because some of the watches what you have and so on, they don't show the whole graphs, only just, the data coming from
the average.
The average. So we need to see the whole spectrum. But so, for example, as I said, the marathon would have to have very high variability for the long distance running, 42 kilometers. And for every sports, all right, it's required different energy, right?
Yes.
So golfers are usually also in the parasympathetic because of the patience and the 3D visions. But some sports, require clear, sympathetic,
More
boxing,
MMAs,
and so on. Yeah, this kind of, martial arts. So that depends also, if, for example, a client likes to decide what kind of sport would be good for me, I can advise doing this and so on, because it's like somebody is born with that already. The DNA reflex, either more, being in the sympathetic or parasympathetic zone. But for us, it's very important to know how to activate sympathetic when we need it and how to relax when we want to relax. And this is sometimes very difficult for people because they can be very good either to be relaxed and have problems to fire up or to basically not having problem to fire up, but to switch off.
Yes.
And sometimes this is the more difficult because activating the vagus nerve for the parasympathetic, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And we know there are lots of techniques which are leading us how to do this.
Okay, Doc, I'm going to be a little bit controversial. In today's fitness world, people are not contented. People are not strong enough, lean enough, perfect enough, and body dysmorphia are very common. And many end up turning to steroids, performance enhancing drugs, just to keep up with the trend of, the social media, of unrealistic standards that we set on. From both psychological and physiological perspective, what should people really know before going down that road? And why do so many ignore the long-term damage in pursuit of short-term validation?
Yeah, you already said that, yeah? So there is always, some damage connected to any kind of steroids, anabolic pills, and also drinking alcohol or taking any drugs. What I see through the HRV, if the person would take steroids, his heart rate or the HRV is immediately impacted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So basically, later this patient can develop certain arrhythmia. Yeah. So and has lots of negative factors later on because it goes mostly to the stress factors.
Yes.
Artificially activate these adrenalines, which are not activated by the willpower, but somehow by the third agent, which goes to the body. So then they got to use it and so on. They're losing actually the willpower later on, or it can be over, done. In many cases, the people then need to have more dosage and so on, right? In certain way. So definitely it's having lots of negative side effects, especially later developing insomnia in certain way.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of, stress-related disorders. That's what I see. Because if they lose the, if they actually develop the arrhythmia, then somehow also the breathing can be impacted for the long terms.
What is arrhythmia?
Arrhythmia, when you have irregular heartbeats, that means, right, when you inhale and exhale, it may not working, as I said, right, the way how it's supposed to be, that when you inhale, the heart rate goes up, when you exhale, it goes down. So everybody has different, breathing pattern, and arrhythmia is the irregularity of the heartbeats. So there is some, problems either with the breathing or some technicality of the heart, which can have, goes to difficult cardiovascular conditions.
Okay. Some people might experience like palpitations, like me, for normal people, if I do presentations and whatnot. How do we have a discipline on being self-aware on that kind of situation and be normal or like relax on that kind of situation?
Yeah, it goes to the personality of the person. I would say, yeah. So because for somebody, the presentations can go to having certain social phobia. So people may be scared of people for some reasons and so on, and then develop this kind of pattern, right?
Yes.
And then what's happening when they do have presentations, because I have so many patients, having this kind of problems, then they have double anxiety because they know they're gonna be having phobia, but they don't know what to do. Yeah. So usually when the heart rate escalates, all right, they may actually lose their thoughts, and
Yes.
it become for them foggy because either they accumulate too much, blood pressure for the head, or the heart rate goes up and the baroreceptors works that the blood pressure goes quickly down in some cases. So they may also feeling fatigue in some way. The voice can be changing. So it's very kind of like inconvenient feelings.
Yes.
And they may also experience certain shame to have it right in front of the audience. So it's a little complicated, how to fix it. But first of all, these palpitations, and sometimes I see palpitations, when we have baseline 60, it goes to 120 and 140.
Immediately.
Just thinking about some negative things
Yeah.
without any physical, movements. So the heart rate can escalate, 60 beats per minute, just
That's
like that.
crazy.
Just thinking about something what this person consider as a threat, that means as a fearing. So if the heart condition it's good, that means if they bring confirmation from the cardiologist, there is nothing wrong in terms of technicality of the heart and how it works, that's very good news.
Okay.
But cardiologists would have a range of normal heartbeats between maybe 60 to even 120.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't deal with this kind of palpitations, unless they're gonna prescribe certain beta blockers and so on, which may help for some patients, but they are not learning how to do this, on their own. That means to engaging the willpower, getting involved in the breathing exercises, and actually changing the way, how somebody
Maybe how they think.
proceeding, all right, this importance
Yes.
of this, presentation, because that actually causing the core of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a fear to be judged, to be evaluated, to be maybe perfectionist, that you want to do something, you want to impress somebody, and so on,
Yes.
how I look. And all these thoughts are creating the triggers.
Yes.
So when the presentation happens and you want to do breathing and so on, it may help. But in some cases, it may be so overwhelming because this person was fearing 3-4 days before, and now it comes and so on. So it's overwhelming. So we need to start working on this before the
Yes.
presentation, seeing it's positive, prepare for any kind of details and so on, and not fearing of this.
Overthinking.
Learning this or taking this as a learning experience with the positiveness, we will manage everything and so on. And once they succeed, then it's a good, step to take it of any time and so on. But obviously, people have different gifts.
Yes.
And people who are more sensitive, more in the parasympathetic, I would see them more having these palpitations as people would be more in the left hemispheres.
Well, we have talked about steroids and performance enhancing drugs. Now, there are people who maybe doesn't go to the gym but self-medicate themselves with alcohol, with extreme exercises to cope up with stress. From an HRV and nervous system perspective or point of view, how do those habits compare to mindfulness and biofeedback?
Yeah. So as we mentioned, also the alcohol, all right, basically destroying the variability. Yeah, because the heart rate escalates, and why the people drink, because they looking for some escape, right? At least for a few hours and so on from this reality. So that's also a social thing. Somebody likes to meet and people and so on, having certain good time with the friends. So it has also the social aspects, all right? Also smoking, when you think about it,
Yes.
all right? And this is particular because if somebody smokes, I never smoked, but I can imagine that, what the people do is basically the inhale and exhale, right? So
For
somebody,
smoking.
yeah, for smoking,
Yeah.
somebody inhales and then
And then
exhales.
exhale.
So when they exhaling, the heart rate goes down, right? So which would have certain relaxing, basically impact for the body. You can see so many people hiding behind the wall and smoking by themselves. So it's a hidden,
Yes.
let's just say,
It's not, they're kind of like embarrassed or ashamed of it.
or they just want to be alone. Yeah,
Okay.
because also smoking is a social thing, and many people don't want to quit it because they would lose their social circle, going
Yes.
out and meet these people basically talking. Yeah, so they would be missing these interactions with them. Yeah, but for some people, who are hiding and smoking, they want to be alone, they want to switch off, so they actually are looking for relaxation, right? They're looking for something like to switch off, and the smoking is associated with this. And this is the things what they know how to do this, right? Otherwise, they would change.
That's their coping mechanism.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in tobacco you have the nicotine plus also different chemicals, which are the major problems, all right? So breathing, all right, as we said, over breathing exercises is the way how to basically ventilate out the stress. Smoking is just imitation of this. So and we know basically there are lots of factors what I've mentioned that it's sometimes very difficult to quit.
Yes, because I do smoke myself and I wanted to quit. And sometimes if I go on like a very extreme exercise, I tend to smoke after, like makes me calm a bit. What do you think I make that as a habit and how do I get out from it?
Yeah, that's the thing, because by this you create a desire, right? So after this, I'm gonna have this, let's just say, cigarette, right? So you are giving yourself reward, and reward is, linked to the dopamine pathways,
Yes.
right? So basically, then the reward is linked to the dopamine pathways, and the brain forces you to repeat that because you don't have different alternatives how to switch off. Yeah. So the only way how is basically to have this kind of cigarette. So the problem is with your reward. The other people may have also, I don't know, they may be having this reward connected to the eating, overeating,
Overeating,
or
binge eating.
eating sugar or something like this, and so on. Somebody is going to have a reward to having coffee, or somebody is going to have reward having some drinks and so on. So that's the problem with the reward. And then once it's established, the dopaminic pathways are active, and therefore it's very difficult to get rid of this because we don't have substitution for that, right?
Yes.
So if you, instead of having cigarette, would sit down and do the pranayams, that's the breathing to the nostrils, for example, to calm down, then the system of the brain can kind of like reset the pathways for this, but you would have to really like it, and I would say, the best addiction would be to having addiction to this kind of pranayam exercises, breathing exercises. Yeah, that would be the most healthier addiction, I would say. So, people not thinking so much deeply about it. So many times they do the things automatically, and so on, as I said, because of the reward system. That's what they see, all right? This is the, happiness for me.
Yes. On one of your slides, Doc, it shows meditation activating the brain's rewards, which you just have mentioned. Reward centers like the nucleus accumbens. So does that mean we can literally train our brains to have a pleasure without substances? And what are the implications for addiction and mental health for this?
Yeah, so if you are asking about the purpose of the meditation, or how we actually, the meditation can activate the hormones what we're looking for, that's basically uh, the the correct pathway we have to play with our hormones, right? Because everybody would like to be happy, right,
Yes,
in some way.
agree.
So the happiness comes to activate the hormones which are basically connected to the dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin hormones. Yeah. Um, so how we can activate it, with the meditation, we need to have also certain live experience, which basically we may see these hormones coming from different, areas, and then we realize the stability we'll be looking for ourselves,
Yes.
because we're gonna find out the hormones within us, not looking in the outside environment. Like, for example, people are very happy when they go to romantic relationships, right? So they have target for the love. They are in the love. They uh, having these partners, and they radiate this love, and lots of positive hormones are evoked. So therefore, people are very happy in the relationships. So they activate oxytocin, dopamine, and so on. But you know, later they found that basically this become somehow not in their hands, because the partner is the outside environment, and it becomes like what we say the
Are we talking
depend.
about the breakups now, Doc?
I'm just trying to link, the difference
Yes.
between certain dopaminic pathways. So basically, the thing is that the most we are hurt actually
Yes.
in the relationship because of these expectations, right, from the partner, because of basically if we are disappointed, we lower the dosage, let's just say, right, and then we experience it on the contrary as a more depressive and so on, right? Plus, sometimes we are selfish because we want to have this person, and so on and
Yes.
so on. So it's very much confusing in terms of the hormonal up and down, because once we experience something which is very exciting, then
Happy.
definitely we need to experience, or
Yes. The sadness.
we will experience the opposite as well. That's the duality of the life, and including the relationship, including any basically um, uh, situations at the work, fame and so on, all right, within the athletes,
Yes.
and so they have good time, and also they need to experience the bad time. Now, how this lead to the meditation is that instead of activating this romantic love to have target and so on, then we're training ourselves to activate what we call the unconditional love. So that means you also gonna activate dopamine pathways, which are somehow connected, but they are not depending to to the anything. So you are with your willpower. You, let's just say, you wish the other people good. You giving the empathy unconditionally, so you don't recognize good or bad and so on
Yes.
towards everybody. You are doing this. You are activating these positive hormones, and that's basically the self healing.
Okay.
So activating the self healing is through the ability to having this skills to do this unconditional love. So unconditional love, you just wishing the other people good, but you don't expect anything back,
Yes.
and therefore it makes you safe, because you are not depending on anybody else. You're depending on your willpower, and that's actually reset the self healing. That's the first step to the self
That's
healing.
very well said, Dr. Martin. We have talked about that relationship and something else, but also there's some sort of like imposter syndrome. That's something a lot of people um, hide. Is it really a feeling not good enough, or are we making excuses for not stepping up? I think it's very common nowadays. They excel more on what they do. How can people overcome on this kind of things, and instead of just talking about it?
Yeah, so it's connected to the certain way of self-confidence they have, and they feel within themselves they can feel a little emptiness, that whatever they do it's not enough, yeah, for them. And in certain way they can do everything properly, they exercise and so on, but still they're not really satisfied.
Yes.
Yeah, they want more and so on. The human mind always likes to multiply lots of things. So we need to find out the balance in this. And many, athletes can be, overdoing lots of things, which later come, as a injuries or tiredness, fatigues, and so on. So they need to actually become somehow a doctors for themselves and see where is the edge, where is the balance in the way how we can perform. The opposite can be fatigue syndrome, right? People very easy, that work out. They don't have anything, which would, rejuvenate the HRV. So many people working too much, and developing the fatigue. If they have very much, very bad circadian rhythm and so on. So I see lots of fatigue syndromes also through the HRV. And the most important things, what I'm trying to say is that, if you would like to activate any kind of change, in the patients, it's very important actually to have also looking for the increasing the energy. When we increase the energy of this person, that means we increase the HRV, then this patient can tackle the mental aspects, monitoring the thoughts, the mindfulness aspects, changing the thoughts, thinking more positive and so on. If they don't increase the energy, it stays with the same pattern, and for them it's very difficult to overcome these intrusive thoughts because they don't have new energy, like new kind of like a reset for the reset and
That's
so
what
on, to
just I
start
said.
something new.
I think people has no contentment, so they build up on this kind of like imposter syndrome. How could an individual feel like they are seen, they are good enough?
Yeah. So they need to be mostly in the reality, right? So that's
people
the
are dreaming.
that's the thing, to somehow, making the balance between the reality and their dreams, right? So somehow, adjust to this. And on the other hand, I always say, you need to know what you want. So you
Yes.
need to have a goal to achieve, right? And so on. But this goal needs to be very much realistic. So you need to know what you want, and then you need to be accepting what you're gonna get in certain way. So also the acceptance is a part, of this game. So you need to be happy with the things what you have in certain way, and very important to see what you reached, to see where you were, at the beginning, and what you manage, for example, now, and so on, and to which extent I can still push it in certain way. Yeah, so that's very important to have some kind of like retrospection, all right, in the way when they start what they manage, because as I said, all right, we always looking for something else,
More
new
and
things,
more
and
and
so on, and
more.
more the mind multiplied and so on. So in terms of financials as well, right?
Yes.
Muscles, good looks, and
Millionaires.
so on and so on.
I want billions.
So where is the happiness? Where is the happiness? Yeah. So the happiness must be somehow trained to be content now, all right? Not depending on certain outcomes, and you conditioning certain outcomes because I'm gonna be happy only if I'm gonna get this, only, and so on. So, and it's basically in the vague because it's in the future, but you're conditioning. So what about now? Why you are not happy now?
Yes.
When you look at where you were 5 years and where you are now, so that should actually be discussed also, for example, in the therapeutic sessions and so on, because we all looking for the happiness, right? And where is the happiness?
Okay, Doc. We have social media, of course. It's very like people in our generations or the um, the younger generation now rely on social media. Nowadays, we have psychologist influencers. And we self medicate on social media based on the people who said they are life coaches, they are psychologists. You, as with PhD in psychology, what's your thoughts on this?
From this case, we need to learn something, right?
Yes.
So people needs to be careful to choosing the right therapist for them, all right, and somebody who is basically having this credentials. So that's very important, yeah. So and for example, in Dubai, yeah, if you like to work in Dubai, you need to go through the certification process, verification of diploma, equalizing diplomas. You're gonna take the exams and so on. So basically, it's impossible to be in Dubai a psychologist and being kind of fake or having some fraud degrees. So that's very good for Dubai. In the other countries, I don't know how it is.
Yes.
Cases may be happening, but people needs to be
More
more
aware.
aware about this. How is the credential of this person who I'm talking to, and basically somehow they need to check before they're gonna choose their therapist. So, as I said, right, in Dubai, the procedures are very, strict and straightforward. For example, even students, we have lots of students who are finishing the bachelor. But if she was doing online or something, right, that
Yes.
was possibly the problem, because that's also not allowed to do without license. But what I'm trying to say, even for example, students with a bachelor degree, right, they slowly step into the field. They become just as a assistant psychologist, right? Then they need to have a master degree to apply actually for the DAJ or CDA license. Yeah. So there is a step by step of, right, how to get basically to this business. So what we can say, this is a huge learning for everybody, in terms of, to choosing the correct therapist or
For
psychologist for
Yes.
themselves.
Thank you for that conversation, Doc. It's very informative. Before we end this conversation, could you share us a short breathing exercise to overcome stress?
In general, basically, even though I don't see the variability, it applies very easy exercise you can do. The most important is always to breathe with the nose. Yeah. So the inhale must be, through the nose and actually towards your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So many people inhale and they inflate the chest. That's not good. Yeah.
Could we do a sample now, Doc?
So you inhale with your nose to the belly region. Yeah. So because in the belly region, we trying to kind of like hook in this vagus nerve. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's very important. Yeah. So you inhale 3 seconds and then you exhale longer. That means 6 or 7 seconds. So when we exhaling, the heart rate goes down, and that's has definitely
I feel my hunger now, actually.
relaxing. But we need to do lots of cognitive works, because when you exhaling, you're lowering your heart rate. That means you're making a bigger gap between each pulses, and then you are going to be embedding some positive affirmations.
Yes,
so these affirmations go more deeper to your subconscious level. So there are lots of techniques. So it depends of this person is very high in sympathetic or parasympathetic. We need to adjust the breathing according their results. But this breathing 3 inhale and 6 exhale with the mouth, it's very general and can suit to everybody. I'm very positive about that.
Where can people find or learn more about your work?
Currently, I'm working in the Novomet clinic, which is in Marina. So they can book the appointment with me over there. My therapy work basically it's combined by this HRV
HRV.
biofeedback and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. This is very good combinations. It's a straightforward to see, objectively the stress level. And when the patient sees that, then basically they can also uh, be working on certain exercises. And when we do baseline, they can see, how basically the variability or activations, whatever is needed, for example, the parasympathetic activation, it's there, how they building up for themselves. So over certain, time period, they can compare the baseline to the measurements which are done later, and they can be amazed, and
Wow.
somehow, they can see objectively the improvement in them, and subjectively, obviously, they feel better, confident, and they know how to deal with the stress much better.